Well, I have read and gosh, I feel like I have inundated myself with all kinds of your books, your audiobooks, listened to tapes, whatever you want to call it, gone to counselors, gone through TMS before. And my big question for you, sir, is how do it's kind of like the opening statement of what you were talking about. And I thought I'm going to reword my question about, not that I have, quote, been told that my husband is a narcissist, but that he does have narcissistic tendencies. So throughout the 20-something years, and it was like you just said at the very beginning, someone that, they put you on this platform and all that because they have their own weakness. And that's what happened at the very beginning. And then all of a sudden, all this came out. And over 20-something years, it's been where I don't feel like I have a voice, and I'm trying to get that back. We've dealt with alcoholism, infidelity, different things we've gone through. But
and when you say we've gone through and dealt with, was that in a really, really deep, structured way? Did y'all go through treatment center or in family counseling and couples counseling and all that for an extended period of time that he was involved in and bought into?
Well, let's see how to kind of put this in a nutshell. Is we've gone through counseling for quite a long time before this ever was discovered. And somehow he always seems to charm the people. But I finally found one that he didn't charm the person.
There you go. Okay, stop. If I can say one thing, did you guys hear what she just said? That she finally found a counselor that he couldn't charm. Okay. Now, I'm jumping way ahead here or sideways or something, but this is why I tell people all the time, when you've got an addict or you've got some sort of characterological problems that you're dealing with, make sure the counselor that you're going to is somebody that's dealt with gazillions of those and spots it in the first 5 minutes, or they'll go right down the path as well. Okay. Thank you for saying that.
Absolutely. And so I was getting feedback from him that, well, every time we get to a certain point, you want to stop going to that counselor. And he said, I think it's just because when they get to you. And I'm like, no, because I'm feeling like they're already like sucked into your, great talent of being charming.
That should be something that's said in the session. See, that's in the session where you turn to the counselor and say, look, I feel like you're getting sucked in by him right now.
I do remember telling one specific one that I just said, I feel like you guys are kind of like best friends and we're not really kind of getting to the root of things. And then, I kind of, after that, I said, I'm not going back. I'm not wasting our money or time because this one's not working.
Good. You're a consumer. Okay. So give me the question.
So I guess the biggest question that I'm struggling with right now is that, I feel like I've done a lot of work. I've done, the things that I noted earlier, but I feel like at this point, I don't have my kids at home anymore. I'm an empty nester, like you've spoken about. And I'm redefining who I am, and I'm trying to get those, it's weird to say voices, but that's what it is. It's like the constant things that you've heard for 20 whatever years.
They are voices. They are voices. Okay, give me a question. I'm sorry about being pressed for time here, but I need a question.
How do I get past that constant voice that is really stuck in my head of you can't do this, or why do you think you can do this? It's just a negative type thing that I keep feeling whenever I want to try something new, and then I just don't.
Oh, when you want to, I'm trying to understand. You can't do this, meaning when you want to take a step out in life and do something new. Is that what you're talking about?
Well, that and just feeling good about myself. It's kind of all wrapped into one.
Okay, I thought we were talking about your husband, but you said a lot of these voices you think came from him. Okay, all right. So let me let me give, this is a great question. And I would like to have, I wish we had, I don't have, but you probably do, and you can go back and look at it in your head, sort of the video of kind of like, the things you've tried. Okay, because a lot of times, there are a lot of attempts, and there's components missing sometimes, or sometimes you're in such a storm that if you want to remodel a house, it's hard to do it when you're in a blizzard, right? And if you're dealing with all this chaos, you have been in a blizzard. I mean, if you're dealing with infidelity and alcoholism, I mean, that's like, you're trying to protect yourself from an onslaught. It's hard to do a lot of remodeling other than the remodeling that takes place to set the limits against that stuff and interact with it better. Okay. So that could be, when you say, I've done this and this or this, it could be that could be part of it. But sometimes there may be some missing pieces. So let me tell you kind of the easy way. The easy way, nothing's easy. That's worth anything. But the 5 years of graduate school and more way of understanding this.
Yes.
There's 2 or 3 things to remember in terms of voices in our heads. Where do we get them? All right. There's 2 places we get them. One of the places we get them is we get them from inside of ourselves, because every human, okay, and this is what extreme humanistic psychology is wrong about. And I don't mean that from a faith perspective. I mean it from a scientific perspective. There are different schools of thought in the psychology world. Some of them are extremely humanistic, meaning every single human is born 100% like a blank slate with nothing there. And if anything negative comes along, they got it from the outside. Okay. Well, no, not so much. If that were true, no kid would ever need to be disciplined, right? Or have limits or anything like that. Or you'd never, we inside, okay, every human, and this is where other schools of thought, like if you look at the way that narcissism is looked at, some people think, oh, the poor narcissist just didn't have enough nurturance. And other people think, no, they didn't have enough limits on their arrogance and their self-centeredness and enough, because that was there too. So we come into the world and we have the potential, okay, for this judgment inside of us. And many times that judgment in a loving person, that judgment, that envy, that kind of anger that is part of the broken human condition, that gets turned against the self. Okay. So sometimes we just have a tendency to punish ourselves because every human has a sense of justice inside of them. Okay. And like critiques, that's what justice does. We're born with that. But sometimes it is off and it turns against ourselves. Okay. And in addition to that, kids get bad voices put on them. They don't get loving discipline. They get angry discipline, or they get unrealistic expectations and all that. So I'm saying all this to talk about the path. I said this to try and make this quick. It's hard to make it quick. But the first thing is that we're walking around with these voices, and sometimes it's hard to tell which ones come from me and which ones came from the outside. But at some point, it doesn't matter because they live inside of me. Okay? Now, here's the thing. Here's what we know neurologically from research, that it takes about 5 to 7 positive messages to overcome one negative one. That's how strong this stuff is. That's how powerful it is.
I'm aware of that. Yes, sir.
Right? Somebody goes to if somebody goes to a job review, a performance review, and the boss says, "Oh, this is great. Now, this one area I'm not happy with over here." What does the person go and obsess about all night? It's the one negative thing they hear, right? A lot of times.
Right.
Okay. So I'm saying all this to say this. How did those voices get in there? Well, some of them come from us, but most of them, the power of them came from experiences in relationships. All right.
Yes.
One of my favorite studies, they tested math students in a race with high IQs on computer screens, subliminal messages, looking at their brain scans. And when the ones with a critical father, when his name came up on the screen that they didn't even know they had seen it, their brain performance went down. The ones that had a positive father, when his name was put up on the screen, their brains performed higher. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So how does this apply to you? You have got to get in a place, and there's a lot of things wrong with this term, but it's right in a lot of ways. Get in a place where you are reparented with different voices. So that's where, when people go to, for example, they go to a boundaries group, or, boundaries.me, they get in a forum or whatever, and they start to, they're processing the stuff. And that group comes around you and says no to that critical voice. No, you are doing the right thing here. You are loved. We care about that. Over and over and over and over and over and over. That starts to get wired in a deeper way than the negative one, and insight into the negative one to know, wait a minute, that's not me, that's not God, that's not reality, that's whoever's voice. And you learn to shut that one down. You learn to go with this one. All right. But then that doesn't do it. It's not enough.
Right. No, I know.
What's next?
I was going to add to that, because I when I was going through the counseling thing, I was like, you know what? I think I got it. Like, this is great. And then the longer that I was away from it, it went back. Like,
yes,
I kind of started.
Right.
Like,
you're right. And it's not only exactly, but it's not only the longer you were away from it, it's that it didn't come with you in an active, ongoing process. Because what I was just about to say, and I'm going to have to stop after this, is it's like when people come up to me and say, I would go try stuff and do stuff, but I don't have the self-confidence. How can I get more self-confidence? And I say, you're not going to like the answer, but here's how you get the more self-confidence. You go out there and you do the stuff. And then you learn you can do this. Wait a minute, the voices weren't right. Why? Because I'm telling them they're right? No, because I just did what they said I can't do. Okay, so I'm going to give you a path here. First of all, this is how neurologically things change. First of all, there is awareness, and we've done that. Okay, you said we've done that. We've added that. It's not a done deal. You keep doing that. But you're learning, here's what the voices are. I've got this issue. I stop when it happens. When I hear it, I back away. Okay. Or I start to join that voice or whatever. Now I got awareness. Awareness doesn't change anything.
Okay.
It doesn't. But it is the first ingredient to changing things.
Help. But it's not changing it. That's why I had the call.
Exactly. So what do we do then? Second step, something called focused attention. Focused attention is focusing my attention on it when it's happening, in the moment it's happening, not just in my group. But I got to find some way to draw attention to it. Wait a minute, now my husband or my boss or my wife or they're kind of like, okay, right in that moment, oh, this is when I'm doing, I see what I'm doing now that I learned. Now I'm starting to shrink back. I'm not giving my voice. I'm not whatever. Focused attention, number 2. And the third one is, and this is the key one.
Okay, I'm ready.
You ready for this?
Yes,
Deliberate practice.
Okay.
So that means after the awareness of what the issue is, now I've got some way of seeing that I'm doing it right now in this conversation. And then I'm going to stop what I was saying and say, you know what? I just changed my mind. I don't want to do that. I don't want to have this conversation, or I don't want to go on the trip until you agree to blah, blah, blah. And you deliberately practice the new skill that says, I can do this. Okay. And then the fourth thing is you have relational support all the way through. And right after you have that conversation where you stood up for the first time in the tiniest little way, you run and you call everybody in your group and say, okay, I'm feeling bad. The guilt is coming in. I stood up, I said it back, and then the whole process starts over again. All right. So that's a path. But what I want you to see is, and I really wish I could talk longer, but I got a bunch of people waiting here. But I want you to see this path as something that you don't have an end date to. Whenever I hear people say, well, I tried this or tried that or I went through that, this is going to be a path, not in a blizzard, okay, of just dealing with him, but your own path where you're saying, I am going to change these things. And you get this path and you get somebody in a group to help you do it. And it works. It just works. So I want you to look at it in a way that those ingredients are all there. And part of what I skipped over in the beginning, some of this old stuff, some of that's got to be processed as well. Another suggestion I have to you is go to boundaries.me and look up the anxiety seminar, boundaries.me/anxiety, because when you're talking about stepping out, trying new things, so much of that is going to apply to you.